Welcome to the Women's Motorsport Network Let's Talk Racing podcast with hosts Melinda Russell and Brett Timmerman. Brought to you by Highline Raceway. Now here they are. Let's talk racing.
Yeah, so here we are, but it's just me. Brett's not here. He's got a lot of stuff going on. This is a crazy time of year for him. You would think racing is the crazy time because he's, his daughter and his son race, but he does lots of hunting and camo stuff, and the guy's a crazy workaholic. And so we're not going to have him with us for the next couple of weeks, but my guest tonight is Jacqueline Drake, and Jacqueline and I are going to just carry on. We can do it. Two strong, powerful women. We can do the podcast without Brett for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I know we won't fill in for Brett, but I'm glad to have a one-on-one with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Jacqueline, I met you in person last year at Phoenix, I believe, right?
Yep.
You came up and said hello. We took our picture together, but we had connected prior to that through social media, and I was following what you were doing and that kind of thing. And so I wanted to have you on the show because I want to, first of all, there's a lot of young girls out there who are wanting to be the next NASCAR driver, the next World of Outlaw driver, or whatever. Excuse me. But there's also a lot of other opportunities in motorsports. And so I like having women on who do things besides drive a race car. And you do so many other things and you're successful at it. So I wanted to have you on so that we could kind of share about other opportunities in motorsports for women. But first, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, any pets you have, anything that you want to share about yourself personally so that the people who maybe don't know you can learn more about who you are.
Well, I am a small town girl. I was raised on a farm in Texas, Maypearl, Texas, which is about an hour south of Fort Worth. So I grew up quite literally in the middle of nowhere. And I was involved in motorsports at a very young age. My father was a sprint car driver. My mother was also a racer. So myself and my brother got involved in racing very young because of how it goes with racing families. It just passed on through the generations. So I actually started in dirt racing. There's more dirt racing down south, especially in the Texas area. So I started in dirt go-karts and continued on through the age ranks until I got a little bit older. And my father didn't necessarily want my brother or myself to do sprint car racing, just because they're a little bit more dangerous. And he had seen some unfortunate events with some of his close friends. So I transitioned into asphalt racing, where I did quarter midgets down in south of Texas, and then also in Oklahoma and Kansas. And then I did legend cars and then late models, where I primarily raced in Houston, Texas. So I was involved at it, again, very young age. As a baby, I was watching my father race. And so it was definitely a rite of passage for me and my family. But when I graduated out of high school and I moved on into college, I couldn't necessarily commit all of my time into racing anymore. And the late models that I was doing, our schedule wasn't as weekly as it had been. So it was getting a little bit complicated for me to adjust to, but I knew that if I wasn't racing, that I wanted to continue to be involved in the sport in some way. And funny enough, when I was going to high school, I was one of like 30 students that was not involved in athletics because I was involved in a sport outside of my school. And so during that section of time in high school where all the kids were in athletics, they would put us in computer classes or marketing classes, or they'd put us in career development classes. And I learned all throughout my school how to code. I learned how to build websites. I learned how to do graphic design. And so when I stopped racing, I started doing websites and graphics and things for my friends that were still racing and trying to help them on the marketing side. And I knew I took a lot of passion from that. I still felt like, oh, I'm very involved in the sport, even though I'm not in the driver's seat. How can I help more people? And then I started doing some PR. I did, when I was still living in Texas, I did PR for Timmy Hill whenever he was racing, when he first started in the Cup Series, and just some like very beginner level things before I moved to North Carolina and I started working in the sport full time, which took me a while to get my foot into the door. But I started that out as like graphic designer, and then I moved into more other marketing roles, and then eventually on air, which is what I primarily do now, as well as some other more complicated media strategy things. But like you had mentioned, there's so many different roles in sport, and a lot of people get kind of hung up on the driver's side. And for me, whenever I started doing pit reporting, especially, and doing on air, I got the same adrenaline as whenever I raced. So I knew I'm like, okay, I'm really doing something here. Not only do I love the sport, I'm doing something that gives me the same thrill and happiness that I did with my life growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you get that in your blood, it's hard to get it out, isn't it?
It really is. It's exhausting at times. It's kind of like a necessary evil. It feels like I'll have an off weekend every now and then, and I will be like, what do I do? I'm not sure what to do at this time. But then I'll have weekends where I'm at the track and I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. It's such a long season. So again, when it's been in my life for all this time, I don't really know anything else. I hate to use that term, but I really don't. This has been what I grew up around. My whole family would travel together to the racetrack, and my boyfriend and I, we traveled to the racetrack together. So I'm just doing what I only know to do.
Right. Absolutely. So, Jacqueline, what are you doing like right now? What is your job that you're involved in? I know you've done a lot of things, but what is it that mostly you're doing right now?
Yeah, so right now I work full time at NASCAR. I'm a manager of direct to consumer strategy, which is a very fancy term for saying that I work really closely with our broadcast partners and executing those media rights and some of the things mostly on our short track department. And then I also do on air sports reporting. So I mentioned the pit reporting that I typically do, but I was able to branch out and do color commentating, play by play this year at Bowman Gray. So really developing and honing those skill sets on air. But during the week, I'm, an office gal or work from home. And I work really closely with many different people within the organization on how to organize our short track broadcasting partners and just try to be a communicative branch in between all of them.
So that's probably a little bit tricky at times. And I heard you say Bowman Gray. A little bit of color commentary there is probably pretty exciting.
It definitely is. It's a very small track inside a stadium. If listeners are not necessarily familiar, it is known for its craziness. It's called the Madhouse for a reason. Mm-hmm. And they had told me at the beginning of the season, they were like, hey, we're going to put you in the booth alongside Matthew Dillner, and we're going to have you do play-by-play in color. And I was very nervous because Bowman Gray has diehard fans that have been going there for 30 years, and there is a lot of history to all of the drivers and teams. So it took a lot of studying, but they definitely have plenty of action to call. So you don't really get bored in the booth.
No, I wouldn't think so. And I would think Matthew Dillner's amazing, partner because he's a lot of fun. He's very knowledgeable.
He is, and he's really high energy. So anytime you can work with someone who has high energy and passion, it makes your job easier because, they really care just like you do. And so we were able to play off of each other. And I'm always a fan of corny jokes or dad jokes, and he had plenty of them. So
I bet he did. Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed when he was with Dale Jr., and he just recently left there and he's with Flow Racing. So I'm assuming that's Flow Racing was acquired, I think, by NASCAR, weren't they? So is that who you work for, or is it the Flow Racing? Is that where you're broadcasting on?
So essentially, NASCAR and Flow Racing have a partnership similar to NASCAR Fox, NASCAR NBC, just like a regular broadcast partner. But their partnership is a little bit unique because the partnership is actually bringing money that is getting funded back into short track racing. So the various different short tracks, different series and things like that are actually getting investments because of this partnership, which is super special and close to my heart because, again, growing up at the short track level, I am very familiar with what they need and what they will have to do to improve their facilities or make next year even better. And so working so closely with them, and especially on the financial side, gives me so much fulfillment in my job, knowing that it's going to actually impact the overall health of the sport. So that's really great. But yes, primarily all the things that I do for on air is on Flow.
Yeah. And Flow is just becoming huge. I mean, there isn't really anything you can't find to watch on Flow. It's got more than I can even watch because I get on there and I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to watch because there's so many things going on. But I didn't know that they were giving back like that. And that's admirable because we've got to keep those tracks healthy financially and with the people that come. And so the fact that they're doing that, I didn't know that, and I think that's amazing. And then, like you said, to be a part of that and know that they got new bathrooms or new seats or new whatever, and that maybe you had a small part in helping with that, that's really great.
Yeah, one in particular that I have to brag on is Jennerstown Speedway. So they weren't a NASCAR sanctioned short track, but this year I ran into the promoter at Speed Weeks at New Smyrna, and I said, "Hey guys, this partnership, this is the things that we are doing to help short tracks, and so I think you guys should be a part of it." So Jennerstown did come on as a sanctioned track, and did all that they needed to do, and because there are guidelines to becoming that. And not only did that work out for them, but then Advanced Auto Parts, who is another big contributor in the short track market, has a competition every year. And if you're voted the favorite track, then you get $50,000. So they actually entered in that competition because they're NASCAR sanctioned. Of course, the investment was great for them, but then they won that competition. So they won $50,000 from Advanced Auto Parts, which is just incredible. And they were able to update their facilities, which is their plan that they've already put in place through the off season. So it seems like such small things sometimes, like I think to the everyday fan, but it really does make a difference when it comes down to running a facility. At the end of the day, it's still a business. And again, overall health of motorsports, it all starts at the local level, and being involved in that is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I'm aware of that challenge because I want to say last year Berlin Raceway won it, which is not very far from me, and that's the track where Eric Jones kind of grew up and raced. And so I know Jeff Striegel, and he's the track manager there, and he's done an amazing job. I mean, that was already a good track, but he's done so many other things, and the track is just outstanding. And then my friend Michelle Maynor owns the track in Alaska, and she was in the competition, and she didn't win. Obviously, Jennerstown won, but again, another it's a woman-owned track. It's in Alaska, of all places. And I just saw her in Charlotte last week at the Women with Drive event, and she and I become great friends. And I keep threatening to show up in Alaska on her doorstep at some point and hang out for a week or so. And she threatened to put me to work. And I said, that's okay. If I'm on your doorstep, I'm there to help and work. And so that's a great $50,000, really nowadays, how far can that really go? But for a track, a small track, there's so many things that they can do with that money that they would otherwise not have the ability to do.
Yeah, those programs that are put in place, they definitely can be a game changer. And on those two other tracks you mentioned, Berlin and Alaska, both top-notch facilities. I haven't made it out to Alaska myself, but also threatening to just show up one day. I think that would be amazing. I think ice fishing would be fun to do. So like maybe I could do both.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, there's so many great short tracks all over the United States. So anything that we can do on the route side on highlighting that and having fans go out and attend their short tracks, because that's where these kids fall in love with racing. It's where they go out and they are able to shake the hands of drivers and get to know people, and that transcends through time and through the generations.
Absolutely, for sure. So yeah, that's that. I've not been to Jennerstown either, but my goal is to hit some of these tracks along the way on my journey. My bucket list is every NASCAR track, and I've hit a few, but there's a lot of other tracks I want to go to. I want to go to Bowman Gray and experience that. I want to go to North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race this year, and so there's a lot of really good small grassroots tracks that we should be have on our bucket list to go visit. Absolutely, for sure. So I mentioned I was at the Women with Drive event in Charlotte, which was an excellent event. A lot of the top women in motorsports were there, as well as we had some great speakers. It was in Charlotte, so it was easy for us to get some big high powered names there to talk to us. But one of the things that was said, and I really think it's true, is that, little girls are looking, and if they don't see somebody that looks like them, they don't think that they can do that job. And so the fact that, what you're doing, a little girl, maybe she likes motorsports, but maybe she doesn't want to be the driver, but she looks up to women like you and Amanda Busick and a lot of the other reporters, Jamie Little, and says, oh, that's what I want to do. And so what advice would you have for a young gal who wants to get more into the broadcasting area? What should be her path?
Oh, there is a lot of different paths. So I hate to say there's one in particular. But for me, it started as a YouTube channel. I started making a YouTube channel, and that was my first in on getting my first ever internship. That was anything on camera. And I have to tell you, I was terrible. I was I was very bad. I did not know how to stand. I was awkward. I didn't know what to do. And I watched a lot of tape, and then I just tried to hone in on my skill set. I have also hired a coach. So I have someone that will watch my tape and give me feedback, to give me just hard criticism. And then the other side of it is just to never give up. There's been a lot of times where I have thought, hey, this is really difficult. Do I want to keep going? It's like, yes, I do. I really love this. I really enjoy what I'm doing. And so you have to just have your end goal in mind of what you want to do. And then everything else that you choose should align you to that. So I know there's a lot of internships out there that young girls can inquire on to learn more, which I think is a great step in to doing broadcasting. Of course, there's different and various broadcasting degrees. That wasn't my path. I got a degree in science, but there are tons of colleges with great programs that can get you started in journalism and overall understanding just the dynamics and parameters to it. The other thing too, I think that is important to share is it's okay to be yourself. Over the years, I've had, maybe people that say like, oh, well, she just always does her hair and her makeup and like is so, she likes to be really pretty when she's at the track. And it's like, well, that's just me. I just like to do my hair. I do my hair every day. So if you know who you are and you just stick to who you are, like this is who I am, and you don't care what anyone else says or thinks, and just keep being true to you, then I think in the end that says more volume than trying to be something that you're not. I think sometimes people get so stuck in like, well, I have to be a certain way because everyone else is this way, but that's not who you are. You know, God made you for a reason. So I derailed a little bit there, but
No,
I
that's
think
okay.
it's important.
That is important. And don't be. Have you ever heard the story about the blue fish in the red ocean? So you want to be the blue fish because all the other fish are red. So the ocean looks red because they're all the same. They're all trying to do the same and be the same. But you want to be the blue fish because you stand out and you're your own person. And that's what I heard you say. And it's funny because Amanda Busick was just at our event. And I've know Amanda and I've been around her several times and I just love her. But she always has she does her makeup, her hair, and she always has bright lipstick on. And she's just, that's the thing, she's always going to come looking like she's been spending hours getting ready, and she's beautiful, and she puts on, it's not that she is trying to put on airs or anything. That's just who she is, and she sets the tone. So when she comes 100% prepared, hair, makeup, outfit, shoes, heels, whatever it might be, she sets the tone for the event that she's covering or emceeing for, or whatever it might be, to say, I'm a professional, this is a professional event, and this is how we're going to treat it. And I think that says a lot about her. And when you look at how many, think about the other women that are pit reporters or whatever for NASCAR or NHRA or whoever, the ones who've done well for themselves typically come prepared, both, the way they look and the way that they are knowledgeable. And so I think that's very important. And I love that you take the time to do your hair and makeup every day, because when you get to, I was telling you before we started, oh my gosh, what happened to my hair? I'm getting a haircut tomorrow, so it'll be better after that. But you just have to get in that habit, and then that just becomes who you are. It's part of who you are, for sure.
I'll tell you, it's kind of a funny story. My parents, at a very young age, we were not allowed to wear sweatpants outside of the house. So whenever I went to school, I always had to wear jeans, and I could not wear a graphic t-shirt. So I'd have to wear like an actual nice blouse and pants, but no holes or anything, which I do like holey pants. Sometimes I wear them, but we weren't allowed to wear anything like that. And we always had to be like dressed, which I like to wear leggings now, but anyways, that's besides the point. We always had to be dressed and prepared to go to school and go for the day and do your hair and, brush your teeth. And I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until I was basically 17, which is maybe why I like makeup so much now. I don't know, but I was just always taught that way. So my whole life growing up, it was like, get ready for the day. And then the other piece to that, you hit on it a little bit, but being prepared. So I study hours and hours and hours before race events. I did Martinsville just recently, pit reporting, and I studied 100 different drivers, where they lived, who their team was, if they had been racing, did they win anything recently? Were they track champions? How many championships did they get? Did they ever go to Martinsville? Hours to prepare. Mm-hmm. And I only used 30 of them in the race, maybe at that, but you have to know all of them, and you have to be on top of your game, because you don't know if you are going to speak on them, or if they're going to come up, or if you'll have to interview them. So I'm a race geek, so I really enjoy doing the research, and it makes it a little bit easier. But that's a lot of the behind the scenes that I think people don't realize. As a reporter, you have to know what's going on, and it takes time. You don't just show up and talk on camera.
And you have to know how to pronounce their name. Some of them are not easy to pronounce, and like you said, you have to know their background. And there is a lot of research. I mean, I've heard Dale Jr. talk about it, and different ones that say it's a lot of work. It's something you love to do, but you don't just show up that day and they hand you a microphone and away you go. There's a lot of preparation to it, for sure. So did you have somebody who inspired you, that you saw doing this kind of work in NASCAR or racing, and you're like, I want to be like that person?
So I think day to day, Jamie Little definitely inspires me. But I have to give 100% props to my sister-in-law, who actually gave me the push to be involved in on-air pit reporting, which was Caitlin Vinci. I will never forget it. We were in a casino in Cabo San Lucas, and we're standing next to a table, and we're just hanging out because my dad is a gambler, my mom. So we're not gambling. We're just hanging out with the family. And I was telling her, I had this YouTube channel, and on the YouTube channel, I reviewed makeup products. And she loved to watch my videos. And she said, you've been in racing your whole life. You work in racing, and you really know how to talk on camera. Have you ever considered doing pit reporting? Because you probably should.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I've always thought it would be a cool job. Like I grew up seeing Jamie Little with the full fire suit on at the track, and Shannon. And so I was like, I always thought it'd be a cool job, but I never thought that maybe I would be the one to do it. And she's like, you should look into that. I think that you would be great. And so I did. And then I started doing more and then more. And now it's like, I don't even know why I never thought about it in the beginning. I kind of feel like I self-limited myself almost when I started working in the sport. I started as a PR, then graphic designer, and then marketing specialist, and moved through various marketing roles and things like that. But I guess I like almost had mentally limited myself, like, well, you couldn't do that, but then could you? And once I did, and I just kept going, and it became so natural. I couldn't believe that I had never even considered it prior to her bringing it up.
That's interesting. So 2 things about that. I did not know she was your sister-in-law.
That's her.
I just spoke with her she was at the event on Wednesday, and I spoke to her, and we're going to have her on the show.
Oh,
so yeah. And so but I didn't know you guys were related, so that's very cool. And and then the other side of that, I don't know if you've ever heard of the imposter syndrome. So we don't think somebody says, oh, you should do that, you'd be great at it, and then we think, who, me? I'm not good enough to do that. Why would anybody ever choose me? And it's kind of that, like you said, you didn't ever consider yourself to be that, but she saw that in you. Mm-hmm. And so we have to be more open to things that come our way. And you were already kind of making steps towards that career. You just didn't realize it.
Yeah, I definitely was. I definitely had interest in it. Obviously, I had interest in the media side and such. I will say too, it came so natural whenever I did start doing racing reporting and getting on pit road or stand-ups or interviewing drivers. And drivers, because I've been involved in the sport and I'm a past racer myself, they are so receptive to me. They open up to me. I feel like I'm very compassionate if they don't want to talk after they've gotten into a really bad wreck. I do think that they can sense that I truly care about them in the sport. So I've been able to use that to my advantage when it's come to like actually being involved in the role, which I think is great. And then the other side of it too is just me not understanding at the time that I could actually do anything with this role. But then as the years go on and like the simplicity that it's come with me getting better at the skill set, I really feel like it was God's plan and journey for me that he led me there, because everything is perfect within its own time.
Absolutely. And I love that you have that mindset, because that's so true. Well, there's only so much we can control, and then we have to put our hands up and say, you take it from here. And the paths that he will lead you down are ones that you would never have chosen for yourself. So
absolutely. I've learned that so much too. In my late 20s, so to speak, on the journey that he has me on versus the journey that I think that I'm on. And usually the puzzle pieces start clicking together, and then you're like, oh, now I understand what you wanted from me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about social media just for a minute. So, you're I don't know what generation they call you, the Xers or the Zs or the whatever. I'm not sure. I've lost track of what generation you might be, but social media is huge for all of us. So how do you feel about, Twitter, Facebook? How do you feel about some of the things that go on in social media in regard to motorsports?
This is a hot button inside of my house, because let me start by saying the good side. About 5 years ago, I had someone in motorsports pull me aside. And I just started dabbling into the pit reporting. And this gentleman said, "Hey, I just want to talk to you for a second about your social media." And I was like, okay. And he said, "I think you're doing a great job on pit reporting. I think that you are definitely going to continue to grow and do great things, but you're not loud about it online." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I think I posted something last month about an event I did." He goes, "No, you need to be posting everything that you do on social media and sharing, because if you don't tell your story, no one else is going to tell your story."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "What do you think people do? You think they just know automatically what you do?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, if you don't talk about it, no one else is going to talk about it. So you need to start sharing." And it was a light bulb. I was like, "You're totally right." And so at the time, I had a private Instagram. I didn't have a Facebook page. I didn't have a website. I barely updated my Twitter. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to start posting every time I do it. I do something, and I did. And now I have a TikTok account where I make racing jokes, and my Instagram has grown so much. It's insane. Like I can't even believe it. And it's led me into opportunities and jobs that I wouldn't have ever received had I not posted on social media. So that's the good side. That's the part that makes me continue to share online and meet people. The other side of it is the not pretty side, which is, especially on Twitter, people are very negative. Even this week, there were some tweets going around about another motorsports reporter that was getting bullied on Twitter and the things that she was being told. I would be totally lying if I said that I never got a mean message in my social media before. There's a lot of people that do try to put you down, and a lot of people that are probably unhappy with their lives, so they just try to project that onto you. I'm like pretty good about just blocking them. I don't really have room in that. But
Good.
I do get exhausted from just always feeling like it's a hole that you have to dig out of all the time. It's just, okay, all the time we're trying to get out of it. So there's ups and downs to it. I just prefer to try to look at the bright side and keep doing what I'm doing over here in my slice of social media. And just, that's all I can do. Can keep living my life. And if I get tired of looking on there or people are ranting and raving, I close it out, and then I just open my Bible app, honestly.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I saw those as well. And in fact, I saw her at the event that I was at in Charlotte this week, and I've had her on the show, and I think very highly of her. And so I'm kind of like a mother hen in some ways. You can pick on me, but don't you dare pick on my little chicks, And so, yeah, don't be picking on my little chicks, because they're doing a good job, and she's doing an excellent job. And it only takes one idiot, and then all the rest of them come out of the woodwork, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So women in racing, I was just at that event. We were talking about it a little bit before we got on here. What do you think are the benefits of being a woman involved in motorsports? Are there benefits, or are there, we just said, oh, she's getting picked on. I mean, they pick on the men too, but maybe not as much, or in different ways. What are the benefits or the not benefits, do you think, of being a woman involved in motorsports, whether it's a driver, a reporter, whatever it might be?
I think the benefits are, at least, and I'm going to speak from my own experience. I think the benefits are that as a woman, I think that because most of the drivers are primarily men, that going back to the compassion piece of it, I think that they are more likely to open up, more likely to want to talk to you or have a heart to heart with you because you are a female. You are someone that maybe they can tell you the truth about how they feel about something, but know that, okay, but don't tell them that I said that, you know? I think that there are some benefits to that. The other side of it too is that women are extremely agile and extremely great multitaskers. So when it comes to multiple areas of the sport, if you're an engineer, if you're someone in marketing, if you're someone that's coordinating, if you're someone that's on air, you have to multitask in every single one of those roles. And so multitasking comes naturally for us, and we can use that to our benefit, and in turn can help other male colleagues that we have in their roles. I know many different jobs that I've had where, and it's no offense to them, they just would be like, you're better at this than I am. You're creative, you're this, you're that, you're an organizer. And I could work alongside them because I'd have strengths that he didn't have, or vice versa. And then also too, I think that as long as women can come together, we can be great supporters and motivators of each other, which I think is really important. There's not a ton of us in racing. If you look at all the thousands of people in motorsports and you put us all in a room, there's maybe 100 of women involved. So coming together and just leaning there and being there for each other, I think is really important and can be a benefit within the sport if you can be a group.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the thing outside of the reporting and media area, the women in motorsports is growing and growing and growing. And the media side, where you're seeing, reporters and that, it has grown considerably, but it's still outnumbered by the men. And so, and same with, I'm looking forward to the first female crew chief, because I think that'll be an exciting day. And there's some women out there that I have no doubt will have the knowledge and the experience and everything to do that. So, we just have to do the best we can and take our time, and they'll show up, they'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jacqueline, have you ever felt like you didn't fit in, whether it be as a younger girl interested in motorsports, or later on, or maybe both times, but in different ways?
Definitely, and I would say most of the time. It honestly started at a very young age. Obviously, as a girl racing, I was the only one that was at the track.
Mm-hmm.
I found an interest in Pokemon cards because all of my friends that were racing were boys and they loved Pokemon. I didn't know how to trade them, but I had a bunch of them, and that's how I became friends with them outside of racing against them. I still do feel like that sometimes. I don't know if it is like because I am very focused on my job. I know I'll go to the track and sometimes I just have blinders on. So I don't necessarily, have maybe the same outside interest as other people. But I do feel like that a lot. It can be really lonely. Thank goodness I have a supportive boyfriend at home that can give me all the advice that I need whenever I'm feeling down. But I also have a role, like whenever I travel to different tracks, like people assume when we travel to places, it's so much fun to go to a new city and explore. But if I go to a track and I'm traveling for work, I am not going out the night before. I'm going to bed early. And so you're just kind of, by yourself in a hotel room. So there can be a lot of times where you feel left out or feel like you don't fit in. But in the grand scheme of it, it kind of goes back to like what your goals are and your mindset, and just staying focused on that and not letting anything outside affect what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting that so many women, girls, young girls that I've interviewed all feel at one point or another that they don't fit in. And a lot of it, in some ways it makes me sad to think, high school is hard enough without not fitting in or not feeling like you fit in, because they're playing basketball or they're cheerleading and you're at the racetrack. And yet it seems to me that the majority of those girls are more mature. They're more prepared for kind of what's out there than some of the others. And so there's two sides to that. But it does make me sad to think of a girl in high school who doesn't feel like she fits in, you know.
Mhm.
And I hear that more often than you would think, actually. So you've done very well for yourself so far. I know you have goals and things. So if you were going to start this journey over, and you know, what would you have done differently to start? And then where do you see yourself going down the road?
Going down the different road or
No,
from
if you no, like from here on, what are your goals from here out?
Oh, if I were to start it over again, because I turned 30 this year, so I've had a lot of self-reflection in the last 10 years of my life. Um, I think if I would have started it over, I would have not been so worried about everybody else and what they were doing. In my early 20s, I was so wrapped up in what everyone else was doing, what I was doing. I was still even just trying to get by and pay my bills and try to figure out how to live life as as an adult that had relocated 17 hours away and I had no friends, no family. I was in a situation that I was unhappy, and finding who I really was and who I was as a person didn't come until my late 20s. So I don't know if that's like maturity or if I could start that over, but I would find her a lot faster and I would tell everyone else that was in my way of what I wanted to just go away forever.
Yeah.
But that took me a long time to get to that point. So I'm glad I finally got here. And again, God's timing and his plan all worked out. From here forward, though, I have big eyes set on, national networks. I would love to be on Fox or NBC. I want to be a pit reporter in the upper three. I am doing all I can to focus on that and focus on my goals. I think that I would be great. I hope that they think that I would be great. That would be a dream. And honestly, if I even just got to do one race, it would make this entire journey be worth it, because everything else I have pretty much fulfilled. I have taken something that I thought I could never do, coming from a small town, coming from where I came from. People don't get to go and do the things that I have done, the things my brother has done. I mean, he's a crew chief in the Cup Series, and that's just incredible. So I'm pretty happy with where it's all transpired. And of course, the short track stuff I'm involved in, I feel like I'm giving back to my roots, giving back to what grew me and made me into who I am. But I want to be a pit reporter on the big TV, and I really hope that that comes true.
Well, I have confidence in you, Jacqueline, because I think you do have everything it takes to do that. And sometimes it's just the one person that needs to see you and see what you're doing. And really, you're lucky you are surrounded by some people who know people. And sometimes it's about that. It's about who do you know, and who do you build those relationships with. And you know, that's something that we hear not just in motorsports or women in motorsports, but you know, all through the world, that those relationships and building relationships throughout your world, throughout your daily life, are what really matter. And those are the things that you never know what's going to happen, so that you can move on and attain those goals that you want to attain. So we do have a message. I want to share it with you. Do you know Christian Carver?
Oh yeah, hi.
So it says, hello, Jacqueline. I've loved following your career and can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And you've worked hard to get where you're at. So
Aw,
Christian, thank you for the message. That's very nice. And I know you've worked hard, Jacqueline, because nothing that's worth waiting for is easy. And especially in motorsports and women in motorsports, it can be difficult. And so you've pursued and you haven't given up. And I appreciate knowing you and getting to know you and following you from here out, because I'm going to see you on the big screen here for sure one of these days.
Thank you. I do want to say, you know, Christian, thank you so much for saying that. He has been following me for a long time. And thank you, of course, Melinda, for your support. And there are so many fans. There's so many people that reach out to me on social media. It's every single week. I get messages, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. And now I do TikTok Live. So I talk to fans on there. But I didn't have that when I started working in racing. I didn't have people that were helping me or rooting me on or helping me go to the next spot. So I get messages and people ask me for their advice or what they can do. And so I always try to take time, and if they send me their resume and give them feedback or whatever it is, or just when they message me and say sweet things like this, it's really important for me to know that like I'm making a difference. And whether it's really small or big, I don't know. You only like know that within time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like always so open to being transparent and communicative, especially on social media, and being that like liaison for fans to know like, hey, you can go and do all of these amazing things no matter what it is. Just go and do it and do your best. And that's all that really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Well, we've had some great conversation, but now we're going to have a little fun. How's that?
All right. I'm ready.
I'm going to ask you some little quick, like, of your favorites.
Okay.
And you can just respond, really quickly. So we're going to learn more about Jacqueline. So Jacqueline, what's your favorite food?
Mexican.
Favorite restaurant?
Oh, no. I would have to say Outback. It's probably not, though. There's so many good ones.
That's true. There are a lot of good ones, especially in Charlotte. There's a lot of good ones.
Yes.
Your favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite animal?
Dogs.
Favorite vacation destination?
I can't wait to go to Bora Bora one day.
Oh, that sounds fun. Favorite number?
2.
Favorite candy?
Sour Patch Kids.
That's the second time somebody's told me that in the last 2 days. Favorite racetrack?
I know some people don't like it, but Texas Motor Speedway has my heart forever.
Okay, awesome. Do you have a favorite movie, actor, or actress?
I love Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Aniston. My favorite movie is Wolf of Wall Street, even though it's like a very crazy movie. Yeah,
it's still a good one, though. How about a favorite book?
Oh gosh, I have so many. I'm going to say the Bible because that's the ultimate one.
That's the one you can always go back to, for sure.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite musician or song?
Favorite musician? It's very cliche. I love Taylor Swift. I've followed her for a really long time. Favorite song is Guinevere. It's by Eli Young Band.
Okay. So Taylor Swift was in the news today. And they were discussing about she's had a boyfriend for 6 years.
Okay.
Nobody really knew about it. I don't know. I don't follow her that much, but I do like her. Okay. Yeah. How about a favorite sports team?
Oh, I'm going to have to go with Oklahoma State University. I just became a new fan of theirs. And I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan too.
Okay. Do you have a favorite professional race car driver without getting yourself in trouble?
Oh, did they have to be active or non-active?
No.
I grew up a Dale Jr. fan.
Okay. I'm a huge fan of Dale Jr. for sure. Favorite holiday?
Probably Christmas or New Year's.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
Friends.
Favorite racing movie?
Oh, is it Rush or The Rush?
Rush is one of them.
Yes,
yeah.
Rush.
What is your favorite thing to celebrate?
Probably my birthday or other people's birthdays.
All right. Favorite beverage?
Dr. Pepper.
All right. And then do you ever binge on Netflix or anything? And if so, what's your favorite? What was the show that you just binged and you couldn't get away from it?
Oh man, I skipped 3, or I just went through like 3 shows, but I binge watched The Office when it was probably like my 5th time doing that.
Okay.
So I just finished that than I did movies.
Yeah, it's the whole, we used to be content with waiting week after, watching an episode, and then the next week we we watch the next episode, but not anymore. We just get on and we watch all of them at once.
Yes, we need it all right now, the whole season.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jacqueline, I have really enjoyed talking with you on here. I hope that we've shared some information with people, and then hopefully I'll see you. Will you be in Phoenix?
I will.
Okay, I'll be in Phoenix as well, so I'll make sure that we get connected again and say hello to each other. And I'm looking forward to that. I know it's going to be a great weekend, a great race, and so we'll see you then. It's coming up soon. Those playoffs are getting close to being done.
Yep, only 4 to go. And
Right.
I appreciate you again for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, and I appreciate you being on. Thank you so much. So that was a lot of fun. Jacqueline's a sweet gal. She, again, I met her through social media. That's how I meet almost everybody. The pandemic kind of did that to us, but great time talking with her, and follow her on Facebook. If you see her, give her some encouragement. Tell her that, you're proud of her for what she's doing, and women have to encourage women. And so that's what we need to do. So Brett's not here tonight. I know that I think Adriana was going to race maybe last weekend, but I don't know if it rained or not. And so racing is pretty much over here in Michigan. My granddaughter, my other granddaughter's boyfriend, and then another boyfriend, the three of them raced at Springport last weekend. It was for the Michigan Cup. And so that was fun. The weather was beautiful. And now today the weather's turned. It's been rainy and cool and windy. And I have a feeling that winter's upon us. So I hate thinking about that, but here we are in Michigan. So anyway, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening. If you want to share this, we'll post the link, share it. And as I said, find Jacqueline on social media, give her a shout out and tell her you heard her podcast, and encourage her to keep working hard and doing what she's passionate about. So next week, I can't remember who my guest is, but it'll be a good one for sure. I've got some really great ladies lined up. We just meet some of the best people in motorsports, and the women inspire me every time, whether they're young or old. And so tell other people about our podcast, Let's Talk Racing Live, and join us. And if you can't join us, just listen to us later. Appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next week.